watch how I talk to you, or you're not gonna take me back. Maybe you will see. I was shooting though, just to get around. I don't care what people say. I'm still not on the ground. I won't lose hope.
You're now listening to When Addicts Say Goodbye Podcast, sharing stories of those that have lost loved ones to the disease of addiction and real-life personal descriptions from addiction survivors, sharing how it was, what happened, how it is now, and what they do to maintain long-term recovery. Presented in a practical way to encourage the suffering addict to get the help they so desperately need, and families a platform to ensure that the memories of their loved ones never fade. Welcome to When Addicts Say Goodbye. This episode may not be appropriate for all audiences as it may contain explicit language, descriptions of drug use, death, overdoses, and other potential trigger events.
I'm your host, Rick Reyes. This podcast has literally been in the making for about 1.5, maybe even 2 years. I've worked in the addiction recovery space for over, approximately 25 years or so as a counselor, primarily out in California. Done some recovery work out here in Arizona as well. I've practiced as an interventionist recovery coach and have been an educator in the addiction treatment certification area for probably over about 15 years or so now. And, there was many a times where I was actually maybe going through a rough patch or maybe having a difficult day, because even if you're in recovery for multiple years, you just have those days. And I'm a huge podcast fan. I primarily love true crime podcasts, and I'll literally be, around the house cleaning or driving my son to school or driving around doing errands and listening to podcasts all throughout the day. So I'm looking through different podcast platforms, looking for some recovery podcast, and I would stumble across, a couple, some that maybe was an individual sharing their story over and over and over from episode 1 to 171, and just kind of not what I was needing at that time. I'm sure, although that podcast is instrumental and has its place in the lives of many, many listeners, then I maybe found some others that were a little bit more scientific. They were the ones with the neurotransmitters and the PAWS, the post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and dextromethamphetamine, and all of these drug classifications. I'm like, that's just not where I'm at right now. I felt like I was in school. I'm looking through, even though I'm teaching here, for many years, I'm over here looking through my dictionary to kind of understand what the podcast is talking about. And so I felt like we wanted to put together a podcast that is very practical, that everybody's going to be able to listen to. My personal philosophy has always been, my goal is to influence, not impress others. And that's what we're hoping this podcast will do. I've heard many people say, if I can just reach one person, one addict or one family, out there struggling, it'll all be worth it. Well, I'm a firm believer that this podcast is going to touch hundreds and ultimately thousands of people that are struggling. And When Addicts Say Goodbye is a unique podcast in that what we're going to do is we're going to focus on sharing these powerful stories of individuals that have lost their lives from this thing called addiction, right? Not only overdoses, because not only people, die from overdoses to these drugs. I mean, you'd be surprised. There are some people that use amounts of drugs that would kill your average individual, but they do that daily. So there are people that are lost to addiction in many ways. Some die from an overdose. Many lose their lives because of the result of the medical complications associated with the damage caused by long-term drug addiction. Maybe it's the first time that they use and their body couldn't handle the drug and they pass away as a result of that. Maybe we lose that individual from spending life in prison because of drugs or behaviors that are associated with their drug addiction. Or maybe they're doing life on the installment plan. They're going back and forth to prison every couple of years and they're just not there for their families anymore. They're out of our lives permanently. And so, something that, got me into this in the beginning was that, one, of course, I'm in, recovery, and I promise you, and my goal is to not spend all of these episodes sharing my story, because I believe the most insignificant part of what this vision and this plan is for our podcast. So the one piece that you'll know is that I am in recovery. I've lost some very important family members in my life as a result of addiction, and my life will never be the same because of those losses. And I know that if I would have had the opportunity to share a message with these loved ones, or to just see them obtain recovery and to get clean and sober, that's, is a huge heart desire of mine that I know will never, ever happen. But one thing we have is memories, right? You have pictures of these individuals, you have stories, you have good times and some bad times. Now, I know a lot of people, when they think of the addict, they focus on their bottoms, right? That proverbial bottom when they didn't have anything anymore and they were sitting in the grimy motel room, but the reality is that these are some beautiful, wonderful, inspiring, creative individuals that had their life damaged and destroyed because of addiction. Somebody loved them. Somebody at one point walked with them down the aisle because they chose to spend the rest of their lives with them. Some of these addicts were laying in the hospital room as they just delivered, the birth to their first or third child. And all of these beautiful experiences, but because of that doctor's prescription that day, or because they tried this drug that day, or because of that football injury that they had and these medications that they were prescribed, regardless of the reasoning, that addiction developed and ultimately cost them their life or cost them their future. So what we're going to do with this podcast is we're going to allow individuals to take the time to share the lives of their loved one that they've lost from this disease. They're going to share their memories and their moments. And we don't want to really focus on the bottom and the fact that they weren't there and they didn't spend Christmas with us and they didn't give us anything. I mean, those are all realities, and maybe those might be pieces of parts of these stories, because they are definitely not going to be edited to the point where we take away from their reality of these individual stories of loved ones. But we also want to remind the listeners that these were mothers, fathers, brothers, cousins, sons, uncles, friends, colleagues, co-workers, people that you cared about, and they were much more than an addict. And so we're going to take our time as the episodes evolve and we grow. We're hoping to be able to encourage the listener on the other end. We want to be able to show the recovering addict that's listening to this podcast right now that you don't want to wind up like this individual. Yeah, they were using, 100 milligrams of oxycodone, in one shot, and walking away like they just, took a drink of water, like it was no big deal. But the reality is that eventually that cost them their overdose, where there was no Narcan available, there was no intervention available, and now their kids and their wife, have one less person in their household that they're missing. So we want to be able to encourage you that there's help available, there's options, there's treatment available. You too can change. You are not the exception of the individual that's unable to have hope, to get help, right? So that's one side of things. We want to encourage those of you that are in recovery or stuck in your addiction to obtain recovery. If you are in recovery, we want to help you improve your quality of recovery, to start improving it. Recovery is not a miserable place or a state of being. It's not white knuckling it and dreading the day simply because there's, no drug of choice available any longer. No, we want to show you that it can be enjoyable and you can appreciate all these moments and create new memories around you.
Are you looking to start out on a new career as a substance use disorder counselor? Or are you in need of a career advancement program? Here's your perfect opportunity. Enroll today at ADCS Institute to get started. We offer a fast and affordable option for individuals interested in becoming certified substance use disorder counselors in California. At ADCSI, you have the opportunity to complete your CCAP or CADTP approved education from the comfort of your own home or office through our digital classroom. With our interactive learning management platform, you will review lectures, PowerPoint presentations, take part in written assignments, content-specific projects, textbook reading, and even participate in live webinars. We also provide that additional clarification, encouragement, and support often needed to fully grasp course content. And to fit in with your schedule, our programs are available in 2 certificate tracks for you to choose from, the 15 months and the 6-month fast track programs. Whatever your preferred learning style, we incorporate a blend of teaching methodologies to ensure that you are able to fully comprehend and embrace each lesson in order to receive maximum benefits of our course curriculum. Let's make your dream job a reality. Our team is ready to guide you from registration, completion of didactic hours, supervision of clinical externship, preparing for your state exam, and of course, job search. For more details, visit www.adcsinstitute.com to get started. ADCSI, turning negative past into positive futures.
The other side of things are for the families that have lost loved ones. I know that you feel like you are completely alone. Everybody else around your family that was there, the moment that your loved one passed away, they were buying you flowers and they were bringing you potluck dishes and they were sending you little messages on Facebook and Instagram, and they were giving you all their prayers and their love, and they were giving you all these positive words. Well, where are they now? You're the only one grieving and still holding on to this, or maybe a few others. You're holding on, and you just know that if you can get their story out, it'll help another mother just like you, or wife or daughter, to not experience what you've gone through. And so we want to be able to encourage these other families that you are not alone. And that with this message of hope, there may be another addict out there that's going to have a Christmas this year. There's going to be another daddy taking his son to ride his bicycle and play on his motorcycle and go to his karate or go to her dance class or whatever, because you are going to be able to get clean and sober. I know it. We are going to provide resource to you, right? One thing I want to commit is that we are not going to ever accept advertisements from a specific treatment center, because I don't want anyone to think that we have some skin in the game to where we're referring people. That's not how I get down. And for those of you, as time goes by and you research who I am, you'll know that, I really am serious about this work on many different levels, and there's nothing but a pure agenda to what I'm doing. So what we will do is provide on our website, whenaddictssaygoodbye.com. At the bottom of our website, you'll be able to find some links to SAMHSA. It's like the government site where you can put in your zip code and find out all of the treatment centers that are near you, so you can actually call and do a little bit of footwork and find a licensed or certified treatment center, near your area, and do a little bit of homework. Because the reality is that you don't have to spend $30,000 or $40,000 for a 90-day, 28-day, or 90-day program out in the middle of Malibu for your loved one to get, help. The truth is, I've seen some great programs in the middle of Chicago, Los Angeles, Compton, and Watts that are just as good as the programs in Orange County, Scottsdale, and Pacific Palisades. Although there are some good programs there as well, right? So you just want to be able to at least come to us. No, you can come to whenaddictssaygoodbye.com as a resource to start searching for the right type of treatment. And we're not telling you, go here, go here, go here, because the truth is that every program is not going to be the right fit for your loved one. You have to, you hear people say in recovery or in the treatment community, if you really want to get help, you'll find it anywhere. Well, the reality is, the executive for, a huge, company might not feel good in the middle of the inner city where there's a lot of, crime and stuff kind of going on when they go outside to a meeting and things like that. There might maybe need to be a different setting for that individual. If your grandfather is struggling with addiction, you probably don't want to put him in a program where it's primarily, 18 to 25-year-old hipsters, you know what I mean? So you want to find that right program for your loved one. And another thing that we want to do is to keep this podcast moving and growing, and to know that you can always come to us to find out what's going on in the recovery community, with the ability to know that we're going to provide you with something that's going to help you create action in your life. You're going to be able to implement some steps in your recovery to help you go to that next level. And the way we're going to be able to grow is by a couple things happening. One If you will continue to support our podcast by sharing it with your friends, family, coworkers, and colleagues, let all of your treatment centers that you know about our podcast. Let your loved ones know. Share it on social media. If you can go to the iTunes store and add some comments and give us a rating, that 5-star would be amazing. Those things count, to be very honest with you. And you can, of course, listen to us on all platforms. And the other thing that you can do to support our show is you can go to our sponsors tab on our website, When Addicts Say Goodbye, and support some of our sponsors, some great services. We will not be, of course, connecting with services that we do not believe that people will benefit from. As the episodes go by, we'll continue to provide you with more information on that and how that works and kind of what companies we're going to be partnering with to be able to benefit our listening base. And the last thing that I want to say before we close and actually get into our other episodes is this. By the time you hear this, there should be some additional stuff for you to indulge in. So feel free to binge a little bit on When Addicts Say Goodbye. There should be a trailer for you to listen to kind of just get pumped up and inspired about what we're doing with the podcast, and also maybe a couple of episodes for you to be able to listen to. So if you are listening to this and you're already getting excited and you're like, hey, I want to be part of this show, I want to share the story of my loved one or whatever, you can go to our website, When Addicts Say Goodbye, and there's a voice recorder up top where you can submit up to a 5-minute story giving us an overview of what you'd like to share. And make sure that you leave your name and your email address so we can get back with you. We will do our best to make sure we can get back to as many of you as we can. Whether we have the ability to move forward with an interview or not, you are more than welcome to come back to the website and submit another voice request for an interview or simply leave a comment. I also want you to know if you have a positive testimonial of how this podcast has ultimately helped you, you can always come back to the website and share that. And you want to make sure in the voicemail you indicate that it's okay to share this on a future podcast, because we'll be creating a montage and also kind of sneaking in some testimonials through that as well. My younger brother had a great friend when he was in high school. This young kid's name was Danny. We'd love in the future to be able to share, his full story with you guys. Danny, I'll just call him Danny for now, was a great, musician. He was a cool looking kid. He seemed to have like a great vibe. I mean, I didn't know him personally, although I did know and do know, one of his brothers that also has, a real cool character and some great qualities. But I kind of remind of my own family, my own brothers, just a little bit quirky and just enough, hood in you and enough professionalism to kind of be able to blend in the middle of a lawyer's office or in the middle of, the hood. You can kind of blend in wherever you go. He seemed to have a great personality, and he was a musician. And he unfortunately struggled with substance abuse and heroin addiction. And he recorded, many songs, I'm sure. But there's one song that's always touched my heart. It's always been important to me. Matter of fact, we've dedicated and decided to continue to use his song for our ongoing intro, outro music. We're going to, make sure that we kind of close with sharing this song with you guys. And so I'm going to ask this. You can do a couple things. Close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, don't close them. But you want you to just meditate on this song as we share Danny's song that we're going to use again for our intro, outro music. Hopefully he can tell you a little bit about why we're truly doing this podcast.
That I put you through hell. Before you take a look at me, take a good look at yourself. Maybe you will see. Well, now you tell me I should watch how I act. I should watch how I talk to you, or you're not gonna take me back. Maybe will see. I was shooting dope just to get around. I don't care what people say. I'm still not on the ground. I won't lose hope. I'm still not falling down. I don't care what people want.
Is there something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Listen, I've worked in addiction treatment for over 20 years, and there were plenty of times where after individual sessions, doing groups all day, assessments and treatment plans, only to have to leave work and deal with my own self and my own issues. If it wasn't for my therapist, only God knows where I would be today. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 24 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's counselor network, which may not be locally available in many areas. This service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or telephone sessions so you'll never have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy ever again. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change counselors if you need to. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living your happier life today. Visit their website at betterhelp.com/WASG. That's BetterHelp, HELP/WASG. And join over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health today with the help of experienced professionals. We have a special offer for When Addicts Say Goodbye podcast listeners. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/WASG.
You always tell me that I put you through hell. Before you take a look at me, take a good look at yourself. Maybe you will see. Well, now you...
When Addicts Say Goodbye podcast is not meant to be used as a substitute or replacement for professional therapy or counseling. If you or a loved one is in need of help, please seek professional treatment as soon as possible with a local state-licensed treatment center or professional clinician in your area. Get behind-the-scenes information and sneak peeks into future guests by following us on Instagram, and make sure to connect with the cause by taking part in after-episode discussions on our Facebook group at WASG Podcast. To our new recovery family, friends, supporters, and ambassadors of sobriety, thanks for being part of the solution and listening. For more information, visit us at whenaddictssaygoodbye.com. There, you'll also find helpful resources, show notes, and more. As part of the recovery family, you can help us share these amazing stories by either connecting with our partners or consider sponsoring an episode. Find more information on our website, make sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, go over to the iTunes store and give us a rating. Believe it or not, those 5-star ratings help out tremendously.
When Addicts Say Goodbye podcast is an ADCS Institute production. Editing, mixing, mastering, and sound design by Resonate Recordings.
On your way out. Won't you close the door? On your way out. Won't you close the door? On your way out.
Flowers, flowers, beautiful flowers.